there is a way of like, for example, and this is someone say, oh, Hasan, you're doing identity politics. But I think like optics to a certain degree do matter, especially when our job is to be persuasive communicators, right? And in a lot of circumstances, in spite of my best attempts, as I've talked about already, in spite of my best attempts, and for the record, I'm not even saying like cancel Bad Empanada for saying what he said about AB or whatever. I'm still very much a person that is speaking to an entire stadium full of people every single day, even on a lower view count day, such as this one. And I'm talking about heated political subjects, right? Things that people get very passionate about, things that people have a tremendous amount of conviction over when they're speaking about this stuff. And I think it's always interesting whenever people will come in and criticize me over how I've communicated over something, over an issue, when that's my job. Like when people will be like, excuse me, when you say like Israel has done 1 million October 7s, like that makes it seem as though there's like a moral equivalence between what Israel's doing and what Hamas is doing when there isn't. And it's like, yeah, I know that that's what it seems like, but I'm communicating that position to people that actually literally think Israel is in the right. This is a new position for them. Do you understand? So while I don't agree that Israel and Hamas are operating on the same moral playing field and that Hamas is a resistance group born out of the apartheid that Israel has conducted, and therefore they are morally closer to the right side, to the righteous side, and certainly have been post-October 7. The reason why I'm broaching the subject matter from that angle is because I want to get others to understand, to the best of their ability, what this dynamic truly looks like. And people that have never even entertained that notion, that people that have never even entertained that dynamic, are never going to listen to you if you're talking about, I don't know, dismantling the Zionist entity piece by piece by doing 1 million October 7s, like, Hamas should do 1 million October 7s. Like, if you present yourself like that, you could literally go to jail. That's number one. And number two, you're just not going to have a lot of impact. Like, I am a communicator for this reason. This is my job for a reason. I guess my point is, I know what I'm doing. Like, let me fucking cook. You see what I'm saying? Let me cook. Sometimes it's okay to let me cook. When I say stuff like Israel is far worse than Hamas, it has done thousands of October 7s, or when I say like I'm a lesser evil voter and Hamas is the lesser evil. This is a major disagreement that I have with Bad Empanada, regardless of our converging goals, right? Like when I listen to Bad Empanada talk about Israel and where he says like this is Jewish exceptionalism and Jewish supremacist thought like that. Is playing a formative role in the way that Zionists talk about Israel. Like, I don't disagree with him, okay? But the way he carries himself beyond that, is like an internet troll. And to be fair, he is an internet troll. But I think he would be far more impactful if he actually maybe dialed back that sort of behavior and didn't come across as like incredibly off-putting. The way he talks... Here's what I mean. The way he talks about Zionists is the exact same way that people talk about Nazis, right? Or is the exact same way that he would talk about Nazis. And that's fair. That's a fair assessment to make because Zionism, just like Nazism, is a form of fascism, as I've said time and time again. Now, the problem there is I don't even know if I would talk about Nazis in that way sometimes, like the way he talks about it. That's what I mean. Like he's so wild in his discourse that it's it just scares the hoes, for lack of a better term. Especially if your goal is to for lack of a better term, I said you're scared of the hoes, but like if your overarching goal is to detangle social conditioning that people are taking for granted, which is my goal, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful in the way that you talk about certain things. What are you talking about? Why wouldn't you talk about the Nazi like that? No, you don't understand what I'm saying. Like, for example, I would not call I would not personally, for example, say that AB is a house slave, okay? That is inappropriate and unacceptable. Do you see what I mean? It's not because I'm a lib in comparison to Bad Empanada. Stop. And you guys are fucking annoying when you behave like this too, because this is unironically people getting ahead of themselves. And this was a major point of contention with the way that Vosh, for example, audience is one bad Ethan video away from becoming Bad Empanada brother. They aren't going to understand this. No, I know. And what's really annoying is like, you guys do behave like Vosh fans a little bit. Like when Vosh was, Vosh had this like moral conviction against like, you know, black content creators that are talking about like Pan-African nationalism or whatever. He would use a lot of terminology. Now, not making a moral equivalence here to what like AB does or whatever. I'm simply saying that like there is a more delicate way of handling these sorts of things, and I think you're wasting all of your incredible talent in writing fantastic, well-researched, academic-focused video essays by behaving like you're a Kiwi Farms operator. You know what I mean? There is a way of like, for example, and this is someone say, oh, Hasan, you're doing identity politics. But I think like optics to a certain degree do matter, especially when our job is to be persuasive communicators, right? And in a lot of circumstances, in spite of my best attempts, as I've talked about already, in spite of my best attempts, and for the record, I'm not even saying like cancel Bad Empanada for saying what he said about AB or whatever. I'm simply telling you that like, behaving this way, unfortunately, I think, limits your impact. And it is, and I don't try to behave this way, and I work hard not to behave this way, and yet I still get yelled at all the time as the largest leftist figure out there. And then people will turn around and use these things that are like clipped out of context, or the calculated, manufactured outrage surrounding these things that are clipped out of context to be like, well, why do you do this? And it's like, well, I'm actually trying very hard not to do it. I am sorry, Hasan, not all your audience are Westerners. Bad Empanada is not catering to Western dem socks. Please leave us alone. No, I understand. I understand. He's engaging in a cathartic language for, I guess, third world MLs, but I don't think that's the case. You're crying about it and adding to the dogpile people who just call Bad Empanada insane and unhinged when it's obvious he's just not sugarcoating shit. No, dude, I'm not sugarcoating shit. He takes it one step further. That's all I'm saying. And it's not liberal politics, dude. We are convincers. He lives in Argentina. He doesn't live in the Gaza Strip, okay? And as someone with the immense amount of privilege of being able to live in Argentina, he should use that privilege to try to massage his language a little bit in the way that he operates and not come across like a crazy person, you know? Because there's already enough people that are going to constantly come up his ass and constantly try to make a mockery of what he has to say, regardless. You know, it's like going after random people. It's like the difference between it's like when someone spray paints like Free Palestine. We're going to show you what's what on a Yiddish school or something, and then without even recognizing that like the Yiddish school not only has nothing to do with Israel, but the people that go there most likely have a very negative opinion of Israel to begin with, but you didn't understand that. So it was like a totally misguided way of thinking that you're doing something for the Free Palestine movement. It's ironic that you mentioned that. It's ironic that you asked that question. That literally happened. That's why I'm using it as an example. Now, that's not what I'm saying Bad Empanada is doing. That's not what I'm saying that Bad Empanada is doing at all. Bad Empanada would never actually make a mistake like that. But the issue is, he's the one only addressing Jewish exceptionalism and Palestinian emancipation discourse. That's not true. That's not true at all, because I talk about that shit too. I say Zionism is a Jewish supremacist, like ethno-religious supremacist fascist ideology, but there is a issue when you are trying to make an argument in the Western world. There's an issue when you're trying to conduct an argument for Westerners. It's like saying the Israelism documentary, every single person that participated with the Israelism documentary should, because they're Jewish exceptionalists. No, of course it's important to try to fight back against multiple billions of dollars of goddamn propaganda. You have to forcibly claw back a lot of otherwise kind-hearted people that have fallen into the throes of Nazi propaganda. I do this for every other ideology. I even do this for Nazis. There are plenty of people in this community that used to be right-wing reactionaries. And the reason why they're no longer that is because I try to be endlessly charitable and try to explain to them this position. Many of you dumb that now see yourselves as these like edgelords unironically come from that background, not realizing that if it wasn't for someone like myself who was charitable to you at a certain point, you probably would still be a Nazi. That's it. That is my method, and that is what I try to do, okay? And my expectation isn't necessarily that everyone try to do this, but that's why I always say, look, despite our disagreements, I think his heart is in the right place, which I agree with, because he is just like myself invested in the end to the Israeli occupation and a single state where Palestinians can live free and have sovereignty and be able to travel freely, and all of the Palestinian ancestors can like go back with the right to return to said singular state. Like, this is the issue. Look. This is what I mean. Dude, what are you talking about? Just stop. What are you talking about? You wouldn't talk about the Nazis in that way. They are Nazis. A good Nazi is a one. Shut up. You are an agoraphobic little freak. You can't even entertain having a conversation with your goddamn Uber driver, and you're over here talking about how you're going to execute Nazis. In the spaces that we're in currently, there are a lot of reactionary people, and yes, you don't have to hand it to them. You don't have to agree with them, and you should put your foot down in terms of what kind of discourse is appropriate or permissible. But at the end of the day, you also need to be as understanding as possible or as charitable as possible to untangle the propaganda that has caused these people to be Nazis. I don't see you coming forward operating bases, okay? I see all of you just writing online. That's it. That's my point, okay? My point is, we are all living in the heart of empire. We're living in the imperial core, and obviously, one of the most effective things I can do is to try and use that position of profound privilege that I have to try to make this convincing case to as many people as possible, understanding that they are all, at a certain point, just like myself, just like everyone in this community, victims to their social conditioning. That's it. That's why it's so funny when motherfuckers are like, yeah, dude, only good Nazi is a dead Nazi, bro. It's like, okay, dude, all right, do you, I guess. Stop saying Nazi to everything you don't like, not specific enough. I don't like how you use the term Nazis for real. I don't think it's not specific enough. Man, shut up. It's a catch-all term for fascist politics. If you got a fucking issue with that, then you can, again, suck my dick. Anyway, we need more empanadas. Overton window is shifted too far. The left and the right should be Stalinist versus Maoist. We need more bad empanadas to push the Overton window. You need Malcolm X for an MLK. Dude, you're comparing two dumb fucks that do YouTube videos and Twitch streams to MLK and Malcolm X. Do you not understand that that comparison in and of itself is quite literally what I mean when I say you guys are fucking deluded? You are delusional, okay? You are out of your fucking mind. Recognize the impact that people like myself have. Yes, because I believe modern times have changed, my opinion. Oh my God. I think that online is now real life. Oy, oy, oy. You're the one who started talking about CCs, bro. A lot of you are unironically a little bit too online, and you need to recalibrate back to normal circumstances, please. And that's it. And the reason why I say you got to recalibrate back to normal circumstances, but which, by the way, I'm not even saying like Bad Empanada should stop being a fucking attack dog, okay? Or I mean, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. I'm just simply saying this is what I do. And the reason why I don't talk too much about Bad Empanada overall is because we just have different methods. That's it. We have the same goal, but we have different methods. I think my method is better in terms of outreach, in terms of casting a broad net. And I get fucking vilified all the goddamn time. Stop saying I'm MLK, please. That's fucking insane. Chatter, you are our MLK is insane. Yeah, I'm simply saying that we live in the imperial core or the periphery. And as people who benefit from that tremendously, we have to also recognize that there's a lot of people that are also in similar circumstances and have reactionary opinions, and we should work to move them away from those positions. And I think my methods are a little bit better in terms of doing that. Okay, I didn't start in the core. I arrived to it and was surprised by the ignorance displayed. Yes, I mean I was too. Trust me. Have your methods been actually successful throughout history? Or are you saying we're in different times? I mean, I'm saying my methods are reflective of the material conditions that exist currently. This drama coverage has really fried a lot of viewers' brains in really unrecoverable ways. I agree. Chad can disagree, but he's convinced me and many more people. Okay, well, I will let you know if you are being fucking annoying in the process, I will most likely ban you. Like, one of the greatest examples is something that I always say is like, don't fucking defend me against Bad Empanada, right? I say this. I'm like, there's no reason to. We're both in agreement. I don't want to talk about it. And then Bad Empanada will go out and tweet something that will be used endlessly by right-wing accounts. Right-wing accounts that he would call death threats upon and dox if given the opportunity, will then use what he's saying, his like chirping about how like Hasan's audience is a cult, like they fucking you know, step a little bit outside of the confines of Hasan's political opinion, and all of a sudden you'll be considered you know, public enemy number one or whatever, like some shit that he says. And then every right-wing account will like post that over and over again and be like, lol, Bad Empanada is correct. And it's like, dude, stop farming leftists, okay? I'm not farming his fucking dumbass. You won't ever see me be like, I am, in terms of our opinions, like I am far more moderate than Bad Empanada. Bad Empanada is bad. You should watch me instead. I don't like I don't try to engage in sectarian infighting. I just simply say we have differences in methods, you know? That's it. I love how step out of the confines is always baseless slander though, lol. What do you mean? I think you're palatable to a specific large audience, just not the right one to reach, though it's required to sway big swaths of Asmongold and their ilk. Someone said, I think you are like a lot of y'all fucking post like ultras when you live in Iowa is what I'm saying. Okay. Be normal. This is a big part of what I try to explain to people. Be fucking normal. Adjust your content, moderate your positions. It's a normal part of interpersonal communication. I guess this is my comms degree coming into play here, but fucking be normal, dude. You are not starting a Maoist rebellion. You're not like uplifting the peasants to rise up against the landlord class. There is no material comparison to rural Chinese farmland. Okay, I'm not even saying hide your power levels. Like, I'm not saying be dishonest. I'm saying be fucking normal. That's how you're supposed to operate. There's no reason for you to, for example, entertain transphobic sentiment, right? Do you ever see me do that? No, of course not. I'm uncompromising in my values, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to go into every conversation ready to rip about, I guess, like the benefits of puberty blockers or whatever, unless that conversation is broached by the other. Like, there's different ways of getting different kinds of people on board with your worldview. Does that make sense? And it also betrays how you operate in the real world anyway. Like, many people under the guise of anonymity will post like brave vanguardists, but like I said, have a hard time communicating with their fucking Uber driver. You know what I mean? They don't want to be seen by anybody and are otherwise very sheltered. You should always adjust your message to the audience so that you can make it as receptive as possible. This is just normal communication 101. It's not adjusting your belief system. It's adjusting your messaging to make it fucking palatable to a broader audience. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, let's watch Douglas Murray, The Face of Zionist Extremism by Chris Kunzler, because there's a new meta. It's an old meta, but there's a new wave of like a lot of promotion around a bunch of British people and Christian Zionists that are trying to make the Hasbara more palatable at a time when people fucking hate Israel for understandable reasons, for its unlimited child murder. Okay? Here, I'll give you a great example. In this community, or when I'm tweeting, I always say Israel is doing a live streamed child holocaust. Is that the case? Absolutely. Okay? Am I going to say that in front of, like, I don't know, the liberal Zionist coalition? Probably not, especially if my goal is to move them away from their perspective. Will I not call it a genocide? Will I shelter the truth? Will I shelter that audience from the truth? Of course not. Do you understand? Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? It is a genocide, and you can call it a live-streamed child holocaust because it is that as well. But one way of going about it, depending on what your audience is perhaps a much more successful method. What would you say? I would say it's a holocaust. I mean, it's a fucking genocide. Not a live-streamed child holocaust, even though it is that. But I would say it is a genocide. It is a live-streamed genocide of overwhelmingly children, because that is the truth. But words obviously and the language that you use obviously matters. Yes, one can adjust verbal positioning without lying or obscuring the gravity of the subject. Okay, this is kind of important. Can we define by what is meant by success? I think success in the field of communication, which is what we do, which is what I do, which is what Bad Empanada does, is to reach as broad of an audience as possible in an uncompromising fashion and be able to convince them, of your side, be able to help them relearn certain things, help them unlearn certain things that they took for granted. At the risk of sounding cringe, your point about communicating really made me aware of how the activism I used to do along with others was absolutely terrible. Yeah. You don't want to ever look like you're a fucking Bob Avakian cultist, okay? You don't want to look like a Revcom, dusty as hell, crusty as hell, sitting on the sidelines of any other fucking political movement, talking about how it's not the 1%, Bernie. It's actually the 50%. They're all fascists. Now, are they wrong? Not really. They're kind of right, but still, you know, perhaps not the best possible way to build a coherent movement. I meant edgy boy shtick, similar to what Bad Empanada does. It's actually a great example of this. Yes. Like, I have emotional moments where I do actually fucking pop off, and then people make a goddamn big deal out of it. And it carries with you for the rest of your fucking life. Am I ashamed? Not really. What happens, happens. But having said that, yeah, it absolutely is a value that I have uncompromisingly, which is blowback, right? It's not, it's one that where there's like a tremendous academic consensus over, but wording it in that way will fucking cook me.